What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building. You feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks. All right, let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man. Obviously, the other night or last night was, an important game, game 2 between the Celtics and the Nets, and I know the narrative, and not even a narrative, just what's truthful, what's been happening is that KD's been getting padded, right? KD's been getting padded. You never seen KD struggle like this, because the reason why you never seen him struggle like this is because before, if he's missing shots, he's kind of just missing shots. There's nothing you really did, even though you're playing great defense. You could be even crowding him. You could be in his grill. He's just missing shots, but he's still shifty. He's still getting good looks. And even though sometimes he does get good looks here, his good looks are different, where he's basically having tough physicality and tough scenarios nonstop, that now when he does get good looks, it's not necessarily a good look no more, because there's fatigue, it's banged up, there's a lot of things happening that now on that good look. That's why you never seen KD shot short like this, other than the OT game versus the Bucks, in game 7. But short like this, sometimes off left or right, and you're seeing that, and that's just fatigue. That's literally fatigue, because the physicality is wearing him down. It's not, I know a lot of people going the minutes. No, he played half a season. You know what I'm saying? He played only for 55 games. Yes, the minutes takes a toll, but I don't think it's like that. I don't think the minutes has taken a toll like that. I think the minutes in conjunction with the physicality is what's taking a toll. It's not just the minutes isolated. He's had minutes before. Man's play, especially playoff time. Man's always play 40 plus minutes, or around 40. You only get out 8 minutes, stuff like that. So, that's not, especially in important games that feel like game 7 and within the series multiple times. We don't want to go down 2-0. This is a game 7 for us. We don't want to go down 3-0. This is a game 7 for us, right? Stuff like that happens in the series, right? There's multiple game 7s within the series. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's not necessarily the fact that it's fatigue, and it's not necessarily just the physicality alone. It's both. It's both in conjunction with each other. That's why you're seeing him play at his worst. And on top of that, you add the fact that the refs are letting them get away with, fouls and stuff like that. Especially you're not supposed to be able to hand check. And when a man is facing up on you, you having your hand on the guy and continuously having it on him should be a foul. You see Marcus Smart doing that. You're seeing refs allow things for the Celtics, but it's no excuse. You have to adjust. And this is why I'm been frustrated with the Nets in terms of, Nash, I know, is getting a lot of criticism. Just, oh my God, he didn't do this and that in the third. And I think it's cap. You could nitpick with any coach. The fact that it's not if he's getting wire to wire losses, then you can look at it oh, Nash, what are you doing? There's no loss that has been wire to wire. If anything, both the same games that they've lost 2-0, they could have been up 2-0. And this whole dynamic has changed. They could have been tied 1-1. And the whole narrative and everything has changed, right? It's going back to Brooklyn. So it's not necessarily when the context is like that, you can't just nitpick Steve Nash to the utmost in terms of things he has had mistakes in. Because I could do the same thing for Udoka if you look at it during those stretches where they're not scoring. The Celtics and they're getting padded. During those stretches that the Nets are up 17. The Nets come back down from a 15-point lead in the first game. Right? So it's you gotta kind of just be fair both ways. But my only knock against Nash in terms of the adjustment is from time. Once you've seen them be physical with KD to the point where now they're having active hands on his pull-ups, because that's what they did scouting report. Udoka was with the Nets last year, so he's seen KD firsthand. He's seen kind of when you give him a little bit of space, or when you have big men that don't have active hands and they're trying to use their foot speed, he's going to double cross them to death. Hezzy pull up to death. Hezzy cross, one with the Hezzy walk, one dribble pull up. He's going to do those moves to death and just shoot by shooting over the top. So what did they do? Be physical, crowding him, getting into his grill, just having no airspace, just, tight on him, smothering, to the point where he tries to raise, and how KD has the low pocket, to the point where now, they're reaching on these shots. So where he's about to pull up, Horford is reaching and getting the steal. Tatum is reaching multiple times. Even if he doesn't get a steal, it throws him off. He's slapping hand. So now when he's about to shoot, All these little things are adding up. Kyrie's getting slapped, you know what I mean, where they're reaching and they're having active hands. They're literally two-man slapping his whole hand, goes off him out of bounds. The Nets, Drummond reaches on a clean steal on, who was it, Al Horford in the post, and then they call a foul. Like, it's like you could kind of see where the Nets operate on the same reaching tactics, you know, and just slapping that the Celtics are doing, and you can see it's called tic-tac. And then the Celtics are not, or they're getting away with these same scenarios that they're doing and that they're applying. It's not a foul. So, you know, you can't get discouraged by that. But for the most part, what they should have adjusted from time when they're getting stripped, when they're having physicality with KD. Why you still run him on the perimeter like he's a guard doing ball screens and trying to, you know, I know you're trying to create a drop coverage and you're trying to expose some of these guys so they have to come out in terms of the bigs like Horford and Tice. So they have to come out. So then you play a different lineup. So now it enables something else, right? You're kind of sacrificing, you know, KD's efficiency, KD's strengths, just KD in general for the betterment of, okay, you know what? If they have to take this guy out of the team, it's going to be easier for everyone as a whole. Now, Patty Mills gets shots off the screens because they're not going to switch. They don't want to have Tice on any of these guys. So the drop coverage or the soft hedge, stuff like that exists now. But for the most part, man, like I said, the toughest adjustment that was frustrating that they didn't make was definitely putting KD on the block. Like I said, put KD in the post now. You know how he's done that versus multiple teams where, you know, he's kind of like, he's eating or just they're doing actions and people just saying the Brooklyn Nets one-on-one. That's not what they do. It ends up being one-on-one, but what did they do prior to the one-on-one? They ran bare actions. Obviously, they switched everything and stuff like that. So with his personnel, when they switched everything, it's hard for, you know, certain things to transpire. It's hard for that. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, you just have to put KD at the high post. You put KD at the high post. Now it's the same thing he's been doing versus other teams, and I'm just frustrated and confused why they have Nash, especially hasn't adjusted and implemented that in terms of KD. You know what? Stop getting on the perimeter. Marcus Smart just reaching. These guys just reaching. Get it where you run the, you know, you're running your actions. They switch. Now Marcus Smart is on KD, or you know, Derek Wright is on KD. Pritchard is on KD. Certain guys are on KD. Now it's like forget that shit. Forget the play and the action that we were currently running. Go to KD in the post. Send it to him where now he's not dribbling a lot of the times and he's not dribbling OD to now being able to get stripped and have bad turnovers and stuff like that. What's happening is that he literally would get, you know, they would reach and they would do all those things like that. But for the most part, like, you know, you have to understand that that's not necessarily gonna dictate everything. It will dictate if he continuously stays in the same ballpark where they're literally more effective and they're being successful right now. Why would you stay continuously doing the same thing? Okay, that's not working no more. Dive into that bag. Go to the post. Go to this. And then if that's not working, then you try something else. But for the most part, that is the counter to what they're doing. That's what matchups, that's what coaching, that's what everything's about, is that when they implement something on the other hand from the opposing team that's hella elite and that's working, how do you counter that? And that's how you see series get changed a lot of the times. And I fully expect that to happen in game 3 at a full-fledged, you know, high octane level where literally, you know, KD, instead of him double crossing and, you know, doing that where they're reaching and they're crowding his airspace, just get in the post, turn around. Now you're doing the least amount of dribbles to now get doubled, to get stripped and stuff like that. And KD's hands aren't like, they're not strong wide hands with strong grip. If you see KD's hands, it's like this. It's like skinny long fingers. So that's why sometimes he's not, when he has the ball and you see him shooting and stuff like that, it's like if you just get a hand on it, he's going to lose the ball. Sometimes even when he's dribbling, you know, you got a hand in it. Sometimes he's just going to lose the ball just because his fingers, he doesn't have stronger fingers, right? As you can see, like Kyrie's fingers, he has strong fingers. So when man's reaching stuff like that, he don't just lose the ball. He still has it. It's clear that, oh, it looks like you even fouled him. He still has control, and it's not going to, you know, he could even rip through and shoot through a reach, stuff like that, and get an and-on, where KD is more so, you know, just how he grabs the ball. There's no toughness. There's no, you know, what is it? The traction or just the tightness of how he grabs the ball isn't there because his fingers are more so, they're skinny fingers. So you could just reach. Any reach is going to, you know, he's going to fumble in any reach. which is why you see if you get a hand on him or slap his wrist when he's not gonna get through it and still pull. Where now it's like guaranteed and one. He's gonna strip. The ball's gonna be loose. So sometimes the refs might not even call it because the ball has gotten loose before they could even call the call, and then now they just let it go. But for the most part, like you could just see there's weaknesses. Every player, no matter how great they are, has one weakness. Or even if they're flawless offensively, there's something that may sus. Jordan and Kobe, sometimes they may go cold and be, if they're off, and then they're just, they'll continuously shoot. Whatever the negative you want to use. For KD, it's mainly his turnover, especially right now. It's mainly his turnovers, and then the fact that you could just get physical with him. There's even times where he's trying to actually come off a pin down, or he's trying to actually come off a screen or anything like that, a curl, a flail, and the way they're actually like tight on him, and they're even impeding his movement to start moving, that he's not fighting through, that he's just like, no, don't set me the screen no more. Go get that guy. Screen that guy. And he literally just redirects the play mid-play because they're actually running the play to get KD open, come screen, and then he's not able to move. They're holding him, stuff like that. And then he's just like, nope, forget it. Go the next way. I'll get it in a different position. And you've seen that. They're literally moving him off his spot, moving him off his routes. You know what I mean? They're being hella physical. And you have to rate that from the Celtics defense. For the most part, I knew the Celtics have great defense. When I was talking before in other videos, I'm saying their defense won't really matter. And honestly, even with the great defense on KD, the Nets still was up 17. The Nets still at halftime was shooting 50% plus from the 3 and the field goal. You know what I'm saying? The Nets still was moving clean in terms of just those scenarios that you could literally see that, okay, you know what? All right, this team, even though they have great defense, if these guys are able to get shots up just in a one-on-one scenario, they're going to be efficient and they're going to be killing, right? And that's why it's like the defense doesn't really matter versus these elite one-on-one guys, right? If you look at it in the first half, KD was even playing great. He was 4 for 7, 15 points. Yes, he had, 2 turnovers, but he played a great first half. Kyrie was 3 for 6 points, and they were up comfortably 10. At that point, had a 17-point lead at the point and a half. Right? They were hella efficient. 60% from the field, 50% from 3, 85% from the free throw line at half. And then what happened in the second half? That's when everything changed. The second half was more so they shot 30% from the field, 0 for 10, 1 for 7 from Kyrie, 0 for 10 from KD, right? You see the difference, even though Pascal still had, they both had 0 field goals, but KD had 12 points. Because he was attacking on the free throw line, still had 10 shots. Like, there was still aggression there. But anyway, it's a different point. But for the most part, you can see they're just getting padded and they're struggling. While the Celtics now, because they have more transitional play in the second half, they're getting more steals. There's more turnovers. All that type of stuff is happening. Now they start shooting more efficient in the second half, where in the first half, they didn't shoot the greatest in the first half, right? Actually, no, they shot pretty good. They still shot 48%, but their threes were only 33%. But it felt like they weren't playing, especially early. Maybe it was the first quarter. I don't know what quarter it was, but they were struggling. And first quarter, they shot 38% in the first quarter, right? Where the Brooklyn Nets shot 58% in the first quarter, which is why in the first quarter, 33-24, if it wasn't for Grant Williams' 2 threes, it would have been, larger margin, stuff like that, right? So, like, you've seen them have stretches of shooting bad, but then they have stretches of shooting good, because why? They still get turnovers here and there. They're going to get more transitional play. Now the Nets somehow just be lazy in certain moments, especially when they're comfortably up. Sometimes they're not going to, okay, allow that corner shot. Well, we won't guard that. Horford splashes, right? Grant Williams splashes. So when you see stuff like that, it's kind of like, yes, KD struggled. Yes, Kyrie struggled, and yet they still was up 17 with them not having the best games thus far. In terms of, in that game, at that moment, in game 2. So even because we know Kyrie played stellar in game 1, but in game 2, they weren't shooting the greatest at that moment and still was up 17, had a 10-point lead at halftime. Like, they were comfortably up. But the turnovers, just the attention to detail, active hands swiping, like shading, shrinking the floor, like doing stuff like that, basically crowding KD anytime he has it. It's not the fact that the one-on-one defender, yes, they're patting him and they're reaching him, having being physical, but he literally, when he faces up, he's going to do a 1-dribble pull-up, but these guys are literally in the gap of his 1-dribble pull-up. They're waiting. Horford is waiting. Jaylen Brown is waiting. Marcus Smart is waiting when Tatum is on him. They're all waiting. So, when you look at it from that perspective, and they even made Jason Tatum struggle, and then now, eventually they started turning it around as a team. Jaylen Brown started attacking, going to the paint on Kyrie, stuff like that. So, they had a focal point and they made a mission. So when you look at it from that perspective, man, you just got to understand that, yes, it's frustrating, a loss, down 2-0, stuff like that. But again, I'm not fully worried because I'm just looking at game 3. I've seen the Nets be up 2-0 and still lose the series versus the Bucks last year. Yes, granted, no Kyrie, no Harden, right? But the concept is just the same, where you can make adjustments, you can make major adjustments, even if it's minor for the most part, and still have everything turn around because, again, home court advantage. You had these things like that. The calls that the Celtics are getting or not getting called against, maybe it's drastically different in Brooklyn. And then now the calls are happening, and then now you can't even hack to now, you have to play a complete different type of defense, a more relaxed defense. Now KD's doing pull-ups in the gaps and stuff like that. And that's what most likely might end up happening in Brooklyn anyways. But for the most part, like I said, I want KD in the post, high post, like operating in the post, just period. And that will make his passes easier, less movements. He could do more now in quick, get it turnaround fade. Like he could do more with less, as opposed to he has to do more. He's doing less with more, in terms of just on the perimeter, getting cookie, getting stripped, stuff like that, getting pushed off the spot, all of that. So when you look at it from that perspective, man, again, I'm not hella worried. Game 3 is going to be game 7 for the Nets because you don't want to go down 3-0. But for the most part, like, again, Ben Simmons is coming in game 4. That's going to be a whole new dynamic. But game 3 is the worry where you got to win that game. And I'm not fully too worried because, again, as I come down to this, with KD struggling, all he's struggling, they still lost by a game-winning layup and was up 17 and just lost it in the last 2-3 minutes of the game in the clutch. But for the most part, the Brooklyn Nets have played solid. They've been up 17 and was up 5-6, whatever it was to end the game in game 1. So they've had both games were very winnable, even with KD struggling, even with Kyrie struggling the second game. Which is why I said they don't necessarily both have to go off to win the game. If one goes off, or even then, like, just the way they get doubled, the others are going to score. Like, there's just so much that you have to worry about in terms of KD and Kyrie that, you can't just make the statement of, I lock both up and then guaranteed win. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, especially in the playoffs. So, for the most part, when you look at it, man, this is just what elite looks like from the Celtics defense. You know what I mean? Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year, rightfully so, and you can see the impact that he's making. Tatum, too, playing great defense, blocking KD shot twice. All these type of things, they add up and they just take a toll. So now when KD's finally open, when you add the minutes, when you add just the fact that, man's rotated, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? You could just see the defense just on a string. You can see the defense just shrinking. All these things are just, they're propelling the Celtics to even come back. They're propelling the Celtics in these proper scenarios that now you can kind of see that, okay, you know what? The Celtics defense is hella elite, but the Nets could also be better and just adjust, and then the Celtics defense won't really matter. Because if you look at it, first half, their defense didn't really matter until the second half where they were getting padded and the run just dispersed. So, or it was depleted. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think that they could turn it around. It's a long series. It's only game 2. People have been down 2-0 before. You know what I mean? It's getting down 3-0. That's the problem. This is now the new game 7 for the Nets, and they better come out swinging. So it's True Talks. It's True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. You already know. Obviously, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough on KD right now. And I know a lot of people are killing him. And, at the end of the day, rightfully so. No excuse. He has to fight through it. They're shading, triple teaming. He has to fight through it. I don't think he's seen coverages like this, but to this magnitude where the bigs actually have active hands and mans are just stripping and stuff like that. I haven't really seen it to this magnitude. So, he's got to be better. And I trust that he'll be better in Brooklyn. And when he's better, it's a wrap. Because if they basically were close and were up for majority of the game without KD and Kyrie, what are you going to think when KD's back? What are you going to think when Kyrie's back? So, when you look at it from that perspective, I'm not actually worried if I'm the Nets. Again, after game 3, that's where the worry occurs if they were to lose it. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Again, like I said, it's True Talks, because True Talks. Click that notification button so you know when I'm here. Because I'm here. You already know. I appreciate y'all. Easy fix. Put KD on the block, man. Put KD at the elbows. Easy fix, Nash. Easy fix. You already know. And I'm out, man.